No, we're live. Didn't go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody.
Didn't even do that.
So we've got no viewers at the moment, which is always really helpful. And if that stays at 0, we'll just talk to
Yay.
each other. But
That's fine. We'll have a nice
sometimes
time.
it always starts at 0 and sometimes picks up. And lots of people said they were at 10. So let's just wait till we've got one viewer before we say anything significant.
I'm just looking at the photo that's popped up as the first image of when you go live.
And what is it? Is it really bad?
And no, those two look good. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, look, we've got one person who's a Facebook user, and the Facebook user says hi. Unfortunately, we can't see your names. I might have to look into Neots group. So, oh no, we've got 7 now. That's all right. That's enough to start with.
That's better.
So, you know who I am, probably. You know who Claire is, and we're here with 2 very important people. Would you like to introduce yourself, gentlemen?
Oh God, I'll go first. So, yeah, I'm Rob, and I'm the mayor for the moment for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Maybe for the next 3 days, because I don't think if you can still be mayor if you're dead. So let's start off with that one.
It's a precedent that I would not like to test if we can avoid it.
And the other chap with you with the beautiful beard, he's got a better beard than me, which is not really allowed, is Richard. And what's your role in all this, Richard?
I'm deputy mayor. Probably about 4 weeks, next 4 weeks.
Or the next 4 days if things go badly.
Well, I've been deputy now. This is my 2nd year of being deputy.
But you're probably not the most deputied mayor in history, are you? Because that would be you, Rob, wouldn't it? You were deputy for me twice, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. No, I did two years. So I've got the 4 weeks edge on Richard at the moment.
Okay. So one of the things I think so traditionally the mayor of St Neots has raised money for charities, and before I was mayor that tended to be things like bingo and golf, but then I think I set a precedent when I did my stupid 150-mile walk, fell in a swamp, nearly died, and so the year after, you were deputy last year, weren't you, Richard? And you and Ben, what did you do last year for your fundraising?
Last year we did a triathlon, a crazy thing to do.
And how did the training for that go?
I did very little training. I think
what happened to Ben? He fell off a children's slide and broke his collarbone. And then
people that fell off a children's slide. He likes to make it sound quite macho, but it's not.
Can we get video up on this, Stephen?
If you can find it, we can probably.
I'll find it.
There's a clip of it somewhere.
Because he fell off a slide in a publicity stunt and then couldn't do the triathlon when he was supposed to. He did it much later, and then you didn't bother training by learning how to swim, basically. And I sat and watched you swim around a lake. And probably die almost. You were very close to drowning on a few occasions as well. So kind of the level of jeopardy has increased year by year. But this year, you 2 guys are going to do something which I think is intensely stupid. So what's happening on Saturday?
So on Saturday, and it was Richard's idea, we are skydiving. So we're keeping the theme of near-death experiences. So we're hoping to raise money for the charities that I selected at the beginning of the year.
So we'll talk about those charities in a minute, if you can remember them, because it's a big list. And when you said a near-death experience, I think near is doing a lot of lifting in that phrase. So where is this skydive taking place?
It's near Peterborough. I can't remember the name of the airfield, but yeah, it's up near Peterborough. And the Deputy Town Clerk will be there live streaming that as well. So if it doesn't go well, Facebook will be first to know.
So that could be interesting.
Is it recorded on the way down? I was thinking about this today. I wonder if they record, they video you as you're going down.
Can you not get a chest strap and see if you go on Facebook and do a live stream? Because that would be
GoPro. Yeah.
I think that's asking for trouble.
If I get the GoPro, then I can see Rob's face. I'd have to see mine.
So Claire, you've also got an interest in this summer. What's your interest in this event?
I really care about the town, and I think there's these great charities.
How do you feel about being widowed?
Money. I really care about that. So I've done one of these jumps before, and it's
You've done one.
Yeah, so
You've jumped out of an aeroplane.
Yeah, I've done a tandem jump, and I never ever wanted to do it. Again, it's just I'm not very good with adrenaline, so I just had a massive I hit the ground fine. It's everything. I landed fine. I landed better than Ben. I'm just looking at that little video. It's ready to go if you want. I landed better than Ben did off a tiny child slide. But yes, I'm really worried because there's lots that can go wrong. And that's my husband. And it would be great if you can make it through the weekend. Plus, we've got a dinner to go out to on Saturday night, and I don't want to go by myself.
So I think I've been playing up the danger and the fact that you are probably going to die, which is a possibility. But there's a 1 in 500,000. I think a 1 in 500,000 chance that you're going to die from a skydiving incident. And but the thing is, there's 650,000 people in Cambridgeshire. So if everybody in Cambridgeshire jumped out of a plane, at least one person would die, which I think brings home the actual risk. You know.
Thanks for that.
I don't want to frighten you away from doing this.
I wasn't worried until today.
No, I consciously avoided really giving this any thought for the last about 9 months.
Yeah.
And then just sort of at last weekend, it just started to sort of cross my mind that it was actually happening. And then you suggested that we could do this call, and I should have said no. This is not helping.
Well, there's been a very helpful suggestion. I don't know quite who said this because we can't see on the screen at the moment. We should check on, if we check on the group, we could probably find out. But somebody says that ex-mayor Stephen Ferguson should jump too as well, which is a great suggestion. But I do suspect there's a 15-stone weight limit on these things, and I don't think I'd probably quite make. Firstly, the plane probably wouldn't take off, and I think I might be a bit too hairy for the. Well, I think Richard's too hairy for the parachutes. So. This casts my mind back to the Apollo 11 mission with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. There was a bit of a controversy about who was going to be first out of the door, and lots of people thought it was going to be Buzz Aldrin, but actually Neil Armstrong was. Have you two guys decided? Is there kind of a precedence thing, a civic precedence thing? Does the mayor have to go first? Have you decided?
No, we haven't decided that, actually. You see, this is probably just part of not thinking about it. So yeah. we'll work that one out on Saturday. Probably toss a coin in the plane or something, I don't know.
I think there might be some safety elements involved, so they might kind of pick an order, or I don't know. Like I'm assuming it'd be the same plane. It won't be two planes.
It will be the same. I'm almost certain it will be the same plane.
Have
you had to do any kind of preparation? Have they taught you how to?
I was hoping you'd ask that because have you had any what?
I've done no preparation.
So it's gravity. It's gravity. How hard can it be?
Well, it's not a question of how hard gravity is, how hard the ground is when you hit it. So, in the event of your parachutes failing, do you know how fast, what the maximum velocity you'll achieve is falling? Because I'm an aerodynamicist and I've worked this out.
I was going to say, given your career, I dare say you're about to tell us. I can't remember what terminal velocity is. 270, 250?
No, it's only 125 miles an hour.
Oh, okay,
I think the thinking is that you could probably survive just about if you hit something soft at 100 miles an hour. About 120 miles, 25 miles an hour, there's no chance. And apparently you wouldn't create a dent in the ground. You might crack the concrete, but you'd probably bounce. That's what the engineering says as well. So don't think too much about that. But
when my son realised how fast we're going to be going, he said, "Have you ever travelled that fast before?" I said, "Well, of course, in a plane and in a train and potentially in a car, although not legally."
Whose car was that, Richard? Was it Claire?
I can't comment.
Your car doesn't go 125 miles.
There's no way I can't go far.
No.
So how much? So I've put the Just Giving link on the chat.
I've just been looking at some of the lovely comments and stuff from people.
Do you want to read some of them out?
Well,
are they as morbid as I am about this, or are they being?
No one is as morbid as you. You're the first one to start just bumming them out. So
bumming them out.
Yeah, it's just.
So currently you've raised £695, which is a fair amount of money, but I don't think is enough compensation for giving up your lives. I think it has to be at least £1,000 before it's going to be worth the risk of doing that.
And especially when you share it out over the different groups. This is why I'm here to kind of champion this, because that's the most important thing out of all of this is the groups get a good share of money. Isn't that right, Rob? Because you've wanted to make a wider impact with your fundraising this year.
So can you just give us a quick chat about actually why you're doing this, other than obviously your egos and for publicity, which you're probably the least egocentric person I know. So if it was me, it's all about me. But actually, you are actually doing it because you care about the charities.
No, absolutely. So well, as you said at the beginning, like it's traditional for the mayor to nominate one. How many charities did you have? Was it 2?
I had 4. No, I had 4.
You had 4. Okay, so you still had quite a lot. I've got 7 or 9, depending on how you cut the list. But what was important to me was 2 things really. So obviously, there's a lot of people with children our kids' age, so sort of like around 9, 10, 11. And there's a lot of charities that do a lot of work with kids of those sorts of ages. And once you started looking, they kept coming, and people kept giving me personal stories about charities that helped them, or someone that had really kind of worked with them or supported them in a particular thing. So it was really hard to say no to people. So we ended up with lots of really great charities. And the other thing that we've been able to do through the year is also help those charities with opportunities to kind of promote themselves as well, which is where having quite a few charities was beneficial. So at the Dragon Boats earlier in the year, we had quite a number of them had stalls and were able to sort of spread the word about the work that they do. So that was also, it was really rewarding to be able to kind of give them that sort of something a bit more than a check, which I'm no doubt a check will be really welcome at the end of the year, but just something a little bit more than that.
That's really impressive. So have you got the list of all the charities, or can you remember them?
I do. Right, I'm going to try and remember all the top of my head. So,
okay.
Can you rap them? Can you do them in a rap? Can let's if it's up.
No,
Claire,
that's
can
not
you start beatboxing?
I don't quite know how they would scan. Okay, so the first one, which is 1 or 3, depending on how you look at it, is the Scout organisations. So both our kids have been Scouts, and well, still are Scouts and Cubs. So there's 3 Scout groups in the town. So I'll put all 3 of those onto the list.
We all of us contributed quite heavily to the Scouts last weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, we did actually. It was really good evening. Yeah, if anyone else gets the opportunity to go to a Scouts beer festival, very much worth doing. Yes. Loud. Anyway, moving on. So next one, so Overloaded, who are a charity based just off the Market Square, and they work with typically secondary age kids who aren't, for whatever reason, fitting into mainstream education. And they've got the shop down there as well, which just sells some amazing stuff from local people.
And without getting too political, there's quite a lot of problem with mainstream education in this school as well. And so some people do fall outside those bounds, and so it's important they have somewhere to go as well. So that's another cool charity.
Indeed. The one that was probably the easiest to add to the list was Mindful Paws, who are actually a Huntingdon-based charity, but they do a lot of work in St Neots, and they have 2 therapy dogs. So if anyone was down at the Dragon Boats and saw a charity with 2 of the most lovely dogs, they do, again, work with kids, supporting them. You know, just the dogs are a calming influence, and they help them deliver other types of therapy in a really kind of safe and lovely environment. And they're looking to expand what they do in St Neots and be able to dedicate more time to the kids in our area. So that was, I mean, to be honest, they had me at dogs. So as soon as that was mentioned, they went onto the list. But they're a great team. Little Miracles, who are a national charity, but again do a lot of work locally. A lot of people will know my wife's a midwife, so Little Miracles was one that actually is quite important to her. Although I hadn't realised that they actually work with families of kids right up to the age of, I think, 25. So they go much older. I thought actually they were sort of a newborns and young children charity, but they actually see, when you start talking to these charities in detail, you get a lot more of a sense of actually they do a lot more than you probably think they do, and they're helping a lot more people than you think they do. So they're another great addition. Oh, the Man Cave. So Claire, you can probably talk more about what the Man Cave do better than I can.
Well, they're just a great group, and I was checking in with Steve Moore earlier in the week as well about how things are going down there. So it's a men's mental health group. It's UK wide. There's a men's shed movement if anybody wants to find out more about that and about the thinking behind it. But there's a lot of men that are used to just getting together on a regular basis, talking when you would go to work. So if you are retired, you've missed out on that. But it's not just for retired people. It's just for any men to come along to just have a warm welcome. Sometimes it's just for a cup of tea. Sometimes it's to learn some new skills. They've got woodworking, they've got whatever activity. And it started off with fixing bikes down in the St Neots one. But it's just very, very welcoming. Twice a week, the guests going really, really well. And it's when you talk to the family members that you realise the big, massive difference that it's making here in St Neots. So they're all delighted that you've chosen them as one of your charities, Rob. So thank you.
And if you listen to Claire's radio show, you'll know that Steve Moore is the person who who designed the shape of Pocket Park.
Don't start. That's not about that.
Not allowed to talk about that anymore.
Stop it.
Yeah. Right. Next. Is there more charities?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, 2 more. Next is Making Space, who provide care for carers. So that could be anyone who has a caring responsibility, but they provide care for those people. So they've done things like trips out to Hunstanton and various other things. It could be something simple. I think the examples they were giving, like they pay for people to go and have a haircut and have some time alone, and those sorts of things to give people a bit of a break from their responsibilities. So that charity, Sean and I, so my wife and I went to one of their meetups, and I was just blown away actually by some of the stories and the tales that people say just about how much effect that charity has had. I mean, it sounds like quite a simple thing, like putting on a bus trip to Hunstanton and those sorts of things, but the difference that it makes to people who wouldn't otherwise get those opportunities necessarily is just incredible. And that team, so Christine and her team, are just some of the most dynamic, passionate people I think I've ever met in anything that I've ever done. So I'm absolutely delighted to be able to support them. And again, a charity I'd not heard of before this year, but came forward from someone who I know, who said, "Oh, actually, would you consider them because they did this for me, and this was part of their story." So yeah, I've been really, really pleased to get to know a bit more about what they do. And then the last charity is the Road Victims Trust, who actually was where the skydiving idea started. So Richard and I got talking to them at an event on the Market Square back in June last year, and they talked about how people do skydives for their work. And then again, through working sort of close-ish with them, a couple of families came and spoke to me about, again, the support that they'd had from a charity that, I mean, they do incredible work. Again, it's one of those charities you would hope just wouldn't need to exist or wouldn't need to provide the services they do. But clearly for some people who desperately need them at times, and ongoing as well. So for legal calls and conversations and things like that, very grateful to have them there. So again, really, really privileged to be able to support some of the work that they do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I spoke with a family, I think of Mike Goff, who was the Huntingdon cyclist who was a cycling champion who got knocked off and killed last month, I think. And talking to those guys, I realized it's not just, I mean, whenever you have somebody die in your life, that's a horrible thing. But when you're in that situation, you have sometimes criminal investigations and inquests as well. And so it's not just a simple fact of trying to do the grieving. It goes on for months, if not years as well. So that really is important work as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, indeed. So that's the list. On the 8th of May, when my term comes to an end, I'll be giving out checks, and I would like those checks to be as big as they possibly can. We've been doing lots of fundraising through the year, so various things. The Mayor's Ball, in particular, was probably a particular highlight of mine. That was pretty good.
Amazing.
Something a little bit different for the town. And then after the skydive, we've also got the Teddy Mayor's Picnic, which is happening in conjunction with Riverside Railway on the 28th. So the Riverside Miniature Railway have kindly said that half of all the fares that they raise on that day will be donated to their charities, and we're going to be putting on some entertainment and stuff. Kids can bring teddies and have a little picnic, and that should be a really good day as well.
Oh, so it's about Teddy. I thought it was about ex-mayors and deputy mayors that looked like bears. So I was,
no.
Good job you warned me.
Niche.
Otherwise that could have been really embarrassing too.
Well, this one was an idea from my kids, so people have to support it, because it was my 11-year-old and 9-year-old that came up with the idea for this one. So I'd really love it to be a successful idea.
Yeah, and you've got some comments coming in about it's a great choice of charities, and we have some fabulous groups of amazing people in our town supporting our community, which is really nice.
And what I say to people quite often say, what's the best bit about being mayor, or what have you enjoyed the most? And actually, genuinely, is learning this stuff. I mean, before this year, as a councillor for a number of years, I had some awareness of some of it, but it's just, a position like this, I think, opens your eyes to so much more beyond what you might think there is going into it. Again, Stephen, I don't know whether you found the same thing. You clearly connected with a lot of local groups.
Well, it was a bit different for me because it was COVID, and so people weren't. It was more difficult to talk to people. But yeah, it's the thing about being a councillor in general is getting to see behind the scenes in these things and get to celebrate all the people that do good work. So remember when Richard was first elected as town councillor, he had a conversation with me saying that we should maybe get rid of the chain because it's kind of very civic. But actually, having worn it, and now Richard's worn it as well, or deputy mayor's chain, I think it's just it's a vehicle for talking to people, isn't it? And people are really impressed by wearing the chain, and it means you can walk up to anybody and have a chat with them, and it's fantastic. So I really enjoyed it. How do you feel about mayors and deputy mayors now you've worn the chain, Richard? Have you changed your views in the last couple of years?
So I've been to quite a few other town councils meetings, or like full council meetings across the district. And it's interesting because they're all very different, and a lot of them are really heavy on ceremony. So some have mace bearers and wear gowns and have wigs, and it's like that's
Huntingdon and St Ives are a bit like that as well. We don't have that, do we?
No. And I think that helps because we haven't got a civic building as like a town hall, as a lot of places have. It means that we don't need to. We can be quite innovative. We don't feel like we have to kind of stick with having those traditional elements.
Yeah. So actually, so people who haven't really experienced town council, is it May the 8th you talked about when you're handing out the checks? That's the annual town meeting, isn't it? Which is it's not really a council meeting, is it? It's a meeting for the town, which anybody can turn up to. Well, anybody can turn up to any council meeting, but you can ask you two any questions you like if you want to. I mean, there should be something to do to council business, I guess, and not complex maths equations. So that's a good opportunity. If people haven't been to a council meeting before, I want to see what it's all about. Turning up to that one, because you're going to give a little speech about what you've been up to for the year, and then you're going to hand out the checks, and then people could have a chance to meet those charities as well and talk to those people as well. And do we have refreshments at those things these days or not?
Yeah, we're doing it a little bit different this year. So because of weird council theatre and legislation and stuff, is actually 2 meetings in one back to back. So there'll be the annual town meeting. I can never remember which way around these are, but the one where you hand out the checks and the mayor has to do a report and take questions from the public. And we're going to ask for some of those questions in advance just so that we can prepare proper answers to them and things like that. But that'll be kind of part 1 for probably about half an hour or so. And then after that, there will be the mayor making meeting. So whilst a mayor can stand for more terms, and I could stand again, my work-life balance with a full-time job and responsibilities to family and all that have meant this has been an incredible year, but I won't do another one. So there will be another mayor selected at that meeting as well. And then what we haven't done before, but we're going to try this year, is then have sort of a bit more of an open floor for like local community groups and have a bit more of a conference type thing. So we've invited HDC and the police and various other groups to come and have a stall and talk a little bit about what they want to do, very informally, probably for an hour or so. The bar will be open. If I can put some money behind the bar, I will, but I'm not going to be held to that just yet. So
I'm coming in. That's changed my. Let me just look at my calendar.
Yeah,
I thought it might. So yeah, but I'm not promising that. But yeah, just trying to turn it more into a kind of a community engagement thing rather than a Q&A session with a mayor making at the end of it. So hopefully it'll incentivize people to come and share their thoughts on stuff.
And yeah, that's important. But as much theatre as we ever have, it's the mayor making, isn't it? That's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts on who the runners and riders are for the next mayor?
Couldn't comment. All I can say definitely is it won't be me.
So one of the things that concerns me, like if this was like the US president and vice president, you probably wouldn't be allowed to do this because, like, you know, what happens if one of you, Rob, if you don't make it, does that mean that Richard is automatically mayor? Is that do you have to like hand over the keys and if you both don't make it, does that mean that Barry Chapman is mayor again?
I think you just have to re-elect a new mayor from the remaining 19 councillors. Yeah.
Yeah, my money's on Chappers if that happens. Yeah.
Rob, I've got a question for you.
Go on.
I know each mayor does it in a really different way, and I think a lot of the town, we all know that Stephen still gets blamed for stuff, even though he's not part of the town council anymore.
It's my fault.
And is as really prominent on social media and stuff, and you made a decision to step back. So would you want to encourage people to come along to the town meeting to find out all the good stuff that's been going on, get a chance to actually interact with some of the other councillors as well and get to know the town council kind of life and the impact that it can have as well? It's not not for everybody, is it? And I think people need to be reminded that everyone's a volunteer, you're all human, you know, there's a certain amount of, I don't know, abuse that you can have, and it does have an impact. And I just wanted to kind of see how check in with you, I guess, and see how it's been for you for the year.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I think that has been one of the hardest things to deal with. You know, I used to be a really active Facebook user, and as you say, I stepped back from that in the summer just because I was taking a lot of flack over. Well, there was one particular thing. Now I've got no problem with being held to account, and I think I've probably spent more money on coffee this year than I probably ever have, just meeting with people and talking through things. And I will do that all day long. I'm really happy to do that. And I'm happy to be told that I'm wrong and do something about it. But when it becomes abusive or just grievous or whatever, you know, then it's really hard. And so, yeah, I mean, I think whilst I stood back from the social media stuff, that hasn't meant that I've not been able to engage with people. Loads and loads of people to sort out. And my email address is up on the council website. I'm easy to find. And actually, that means if people are willing to take that step, there's a really great conversation to be had there. And we have brought about some really good change. There's some stuff that Stephen and I are working on together with some other councillors at the moment that actually we don't want people to kind of just sit there and sit on issues that are bothering them. We are ultimately here to help and do what we can. There are limits to that, clearly, but to kind of work through and support our communities. Every councillor should be doing that. But yeah, I mean, as Stephen said, this meeting on the 8th is the least formal of all the meetings. I mean, let's be honest, some of the monthly meetings can be a little procedural, shall we say, because there are archaic rules and regs, and that's from us as a very informal council, relatively. I mean, there are no robes and all that sort of stuff. But even so, the one on the 8th, if people are just curious to kind of find what a council actually does and where their town tax money goes and all that sort of thing, then the 8th is a really good meeting to come to, because it will be quite relaxed, hopefully. As I get grilled too much on something.
I think there's different types of mayors, isn't there, as well? And so for what it's worth, from me, and I'm slightly biased because you were my deputy mayor for 2 years, so I'm always going to be very affectionate towards you because we got through COVID together. But I think actually the way the council has been run this year, the way you've chaired the meetings, and the way Richard chaired the meetings as well when he's had the opportunity, the fact that you've got a decent town clerk now, who's a fantastic town clerk as well, Chris. I think he won the Clerk of the Year, didn't he, for the area?
He does not like to be reminded of that.
But
did he?
He's amazing. And actually probably the biggest, when I was my 2 years as mayor, the biggest thing that I achieved was recruiting Chris, and that was all down to you, Rob. You did all the hard work and you know, including convincing him to come here as well, which was amazing. But you can see it as well, because you know, when I was mayor, okay, it was after COVID, but nobody used to turn up to meetings. Yeah. But now there's always a few people in the gallery. You sit and listen to the whole meeting, and I think it's the attendance and the kind of from the councillors. It was lots of new councillors, wasn't it, who came in, lots of inexperienced councillors, but they've all found their voice, and I think and they've all stuck around as well. I mean, obviously there's been a few resignations, but the attendance at the meetings is always really great. So I think that compared to the other town councils around here, I think that St Neots Town Council is in great shape, and I think you've done a huge role in making that happen. So yeah, I think you've been a really great mayor. So, but like I say, I'm really biased.
Thanks. Nice of you to say so. I mean, but I'm looking to the council. I think we have one of the most diverse councils as well. We've got people representing all sorts of different parts of society. And yeah, we have had some resignations, and that's because there are people who have given it a go, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know, and there is a big time commitment, and there are various things that come with it that, you know, perhaps don't work out for certain people. But I'd far rather someone stood and made that step and tried it and then perhaps had to step away and someone else was given the opportunity than someone to sort of sit at home and sort of complain about things without taking any action or engaging in any part of conversation that would help move things forward. So yeah, I don't see that as a bad thing, not by any means.
And on that diversity thing, so when I was elected as mayor, I think I must have been 49, and I was like the youngest mayor ever, and people called me a young man. Like, look at me, I'm not young. You managed to be mayor in your 30s, well, you're very late 30s now, yes, because you're almost 40 as well. But that's a positive thing as well, isn't it? Is that we're attracting. We always used to complain about the old guard. You know, when I was elected, I think the average age of council seemed to be like 60 or 70, and it's not like that anymore. And it's getting younger and younger. I think we need to have even more younger people, don't we? You know, people in their 18, 90s, 20s would be a fantastic addition to the town council, but it's definitely heading in that direction as well. So definitely, if people turned up, I think that would be
Steve, that's why you started the trend of doing kind of sports related and kind of crazy things, like doing that long walk and then doing a triathlon and then doing skydives, like
jumping out of an aeroplane. I feel really sorry for the next mayor, whoever that is, he or she. is going to have some.
It'll be swimming with sharks. It's got to be something.
Yeah, something really, really dangerous. Wrestling with sharks as well. Yeah, because somebody just shouted out Youth Council. So the Youth Council's back going again. Is it Claire as well? And Richard? And guys, is it going?
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's one of the things we tried to get going during COVID, and kind of this is a reinvention of that. So that's fantastic as well, because those are all fantastic young people.
Yep, so we recruited Hannah this year as the council's first staff member youth worker, and talking to someone from county today, I think we're the only council who's got an appointed youth worker in the whole county, I think, Claire?
I think so. We haven't heard. I mean, we know that they do and get they kind of get youth staff in to do stuff, but to actually employ your own youth worker, I think you're the first.
Yeah, not taking anything away from all the charities again that do that sort of work, but to have that on the council, hopefully that's the beginning of a lot more that we're going to be doing with that over the next few years. It's a real focus.
So somebody's also said, I'm always concerned about going to council meetings. I think they may be too professional, old-fashioned. So I like the look of the newer, accessible and diverse council. It's far more inclusive. And honestly, so before I was elected, it was only 6 years ago, I went to a council meeting. I was intimidated. I sat for a councillor for the first year. Yeah, Richard was my hero because he used to say things. I said nothing for the first year as well. So it was,
believe it or not.
Yeah, well, and then things changed.
And now
but it was intimidating, but it doesn't need to be. And I think people come along, see it, and I think they can make their own judgment and hopefully think about being counsellors in the future. Have we got any more questions? We've done our half an hour.
Just want to say that since you've been talking, the number's gone up on the fundraiser.
Wow.
Which is great. Wow. So you've had more donations. So you're up to £720. I know the target is £1,000 for the jump. I mean, and that's not. Come on, that's not a lot to ask, is it? Especially as we covered all of the different charities at the start. So if we can keep promoting it, if anybody's watching and then they want to share it on their channels, and hopefully we'll get to £1,000 before Saturday.
You don't have to give a lot of money. If £2, £5, £10, whatever you want to give is fine, isn't it? It all goes to good causes.
Yeah.
And I haven't made my donation yet as well, so I'm gonna leave it to the last minute. I might see. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to give more or less. If one of you doesn't make it, probably more.
No, look, if one of us doesn't make it, there's going to have to be a separate set of donations for in memory, and then we'll treat that in separately.
Do you know what? If anything bad happens, I'm going to have to delete this video. So this video will be available. This would be on the front page of the Daily Mail, wouldn't it? It's going to be worse than Willygate on Claire's show the other week.
Shut up.
I'm going to be in even more trouble. So. Any last words, guys? No, not
I've invited Richard's parents to this call, so just
stop. I saw that. I think your brother also joined the group as well. So hello to Richard's family. I'm sorry about all the negativity. He's going to be great. They're both going to be great. And I'm looking forward. So look for the St Neots Town Council Facebook page where the deputy clerk will be live streaming it, hopefully with a commentary as well. Like, the old splashdowns from the old Apollo missions as well, always quite exciting. So looking forward to that. So it's 12:30. Well, we don't know what time it's going to be exactly. You've got to be there for 12:30.
Yeah, something.
So you're going to have to be briefed, aren't you? You have to get it in your skydiving spandex, whatever you have to wear. And then it's probably going to be like at least 1 or 2 or something, probably 2 o'clock, I should imagine. So keep an eye on the maybe even 3.
Yeah.
Well, so there was an email earlier that came out and said there's no. Oh, that's a nice comment. There's no.
That's him off social media again.
Yeah, but it was meant in a nice way, because to say want you guys back safe and sound. That's what it was.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, and actually, my wife is listening from the next room. I put money on that being from her.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sean, as well about that.
Wear the robe.
Yeah, there was an email came out earlier saying that there are no jumpsuits or anything provided. It's just wear nice loose-fitting clothing. I thought, hang on a minute, you need to look into that.
I quite like that last comment. If you want to share that on there, Stephen, about what to wear.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, this is important.
There you go.
So that is really important, because actually the reputation of the town is at risk here as well, because we wouldn't want to have that on the front page of the paper. So all right, I think that's a good 35 minutes. We've got 44 people watching as well. So please, I mean, all of you, if you could just dig into your pockets or your virtual pockets and give a few quid, I think this will make this worthwhile. And I'm sure the whole town will be waiting in anticipation on on Saturday and praying for your safe return. I don't think I'm going to go because actually, the truth of it is, I would be too scared. Are you going, Claire?
I have to drive
I've
them
got
up there,
choice.
don't I?
Yeah.
Is Sean going as
Is
well?
it a mistake having the kids watching as well? It's going to be fine. I mean, are you racing to see who lands first? Is that the thing between you? Have you got a bet on each other?
I don't know what that is. I think we weren't going to have like a cross on the ground and the closest.
Yeah, we're going to go for points for accuracy. Racing could be difficult.
So you're taking off for Peter, but would you be able to glide and land in Market Square? Because like I finished in Market Square, Ben and Richard finished in Riverside Park. If you could just land inside the compound on Market Square, and that would make the whole Market Square project worthwhile, wouldn't it, as well?
Yeah, but
at least there's no trees to get tangled in up. This is the agenda. That's why we took the trees down, so these guys can have a safe landing. So I'll be out on Saturday morning. I'm going to paint a big cross on Market Square, and so see if you can land it. Don't turn up to Market Square. I won't be landing there. All right. Everybody's saying good luck. Thank you very much.
Lots of messages of good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Proud of you both. You've both been brilliant, and I'm sure it's going to be great on Saturday. And please, everybody, give some money. Say goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Steve.